Let me tell you about the morning my own HOA president called the cops on me for trespassing in my own backyard. Yeah, you heard that right, my own backyard. If Cordelia had any clue who she was messing with, she'd have thought twice before bringing 3 squad cars onto my lawn. She had no idea I was a municipal judge who could shut down her whole crooked little operation with a single signature. That Saturday started like any other. Me, soaked in sweat, wrestling a fence post in the Texas heat at 9:17 a.m., thinking the biggest problem was a stubborn chunk of limestone. Then, bam, siren lights, crunching gravel, uniforms pouring out like they were raiding a meth lab, not checking on a guy digging in his backyard. And there she was, Cordelia Blackthorne, HOA president, standing by her white Lexus with a face that said she'd already written the victory speech in her head. She didn't know I'd been quietly building a federal fraud case against her for 6 months, and that her little stunt just became Exhibit A. Ever had someone try to weaponize the police against you? On your own property? I'm telling you, if you live in a state like Texas, drop it in the comments below. I'll let you know if your HOA laws are as broken as ours were. Let me back up a sec. My name's Harrison Webb. Been a judge for 2 decades, but after my divorce last spring, all I wanted was a peaceful suburb where I could rediscover woodworking and maybe my dignity. Maplewood Estates looked perfect. Big corner lot, room for a workshop, kids playing outside, the scent of jasmine in the air. At $185 a month in HOA dues, I figured I was buying into peace of mind. That illusion lasted 3 weeks, tops. That's when Cordelia showed up, a corporate shark in yoga pants. Bob haircut, so sharp you'd swear she could slice bread with it. Perfume thick enough to choke a mule. She prowled the neighborhood like a vulture, her Lexus gleaming, always appearing when you least wanted company. If she called you sweetie or hun, you knew you were already on her hit list. My first run-in, some punk kid had turned my mailbox into modern art with a baseball bat. I bought a new one, matched it exactly, height, color, you name it. The next morning, a certified envelope hit my porch like a grenade. Violation notice, $150 fine, $50 daily if I didn't show up at some kangaroo court compliance hearing. As a judge, I know legalese. This notice? It was Swiss cheese. No rule against mailbox replacements in the bylaws. I took a stroll, snapped photos of a dozen other brand new mailboxes, 0 violations. I started my own little case file. That's when Marcus, House 47, wandered over, beers sweating in his fist, chuckling, "She's marked you." He'd been hit for solar panels, fully permitted. Mrs. Chun got fined for 3 garden gnomes. It clicked. Cordelia was targeting anyone new, anyone who might call out her nonsense. My training said follow the money, so I requested the HOA's financials, as I had a right to. Cordelia stonewalled, delayed, offered excuses straight from DMV hell. Our first face-off was in the HOA office, a musty bedroom reeking of pine spray and cheap authority. She made me wait 23 minutes, then dripped condescension. "Judge Webb, here we follow community standards, not courtroom rules, sweetie." I smiled, took notes, and snapped budget photos of a community center falling apart despite nearly $400,000 in annual dues. Now, I was on a mission. 2 weeks later, I filed an application for a privacy fence, paid the fee, waited, nothing. 47 days of silence. I finally hired a surveyor, marked every inch of my lot, over-documented everything like my divorce lawyer taught me. Saturday morning, I started digging. Neighbors wandered over. Marcus, Mrs. Chun, Earl, offering help, support, or just to see what fresh hell Cordelia would conjure. Right on cue, her white Lexus prowled up. She marched across my lawn, tape measure in hand, declaring, "You're on HOA property." I produced the survey. Every post is 6 inches inside my line, GPS verified. She snatched my papers, desperate for any loophole. When she couldn't find one, she whipped out a flimsy tape and said, "HOA has easement rights. You're in violation." I stayed calm, hit record on my phone. "Ma'am, I've got the permit, the survey, and every post is legal." She stormed off, called the police on me, claiming I was trespassing, all while standing on my lawn herself. The irony was almost too much. Marcus nearly spit his coffee. Mrs. Chin's jaw dropped. Earl just muttered, "Tactics of the desperate." The cops showed up, led by Sergeant Rodriguez. a guy who'd stood in my courtroom 100 times. "Your Honor," he said, eyebrow up. Cordelia paled. She tried to save face, shrieking about community property. Rodriguez reviewed everything, handed my documents back, and told Cordelia she was the one trespassing. She retreated, spitting threats over her shoulder, but she'd lost the crowd. Marcus grinned. She had no idea. That's when I knew this was more than about a fence. I requested 3 years' worth of HOA minutes. Cordelia suddenly couldn't find them, claimed digitization issues. Meanwhile, I dug through posted budgets, found $89,000 paid to Pinnacle Property Services, another $47,000 for pool maintenance, all to the same LLC. Turns out, registered to her brother-in-law. No bids, no reviews, just hundreds of thousands funneled to family. Cordelia went on the attack. Violation notices for tomatoes in my yard, my garden hose, even my doormat. For notices in a week. Facebook blew up with complaints about troublemakers. Anonymous city complaints rained down about my perfectly legal fence. She was trying to bury me in paper. But see, I document everything. Photos of identical landscaping with no fines. Screenshots of board member harassment. Recordings of Cordelia's threats. That's when the neighbors started coming out of the woodwork. Marcus with his solar panel nightmare. Mrs. Chun with years of made-up fines. A young couple so harassed they were thinking of selling. A pattern emerged. Target the newcomers, professionals, anyone not under Cordelia's thumb. The real crack came at a Thursday night, emergency, HOA board meeting. Cordelia tried to ambush me, but I brought a file thick enough to stop a bullet. I laid out evidence, photos, budgets, everything. Asked why the same contractor got 65% of our budget. The other board members looked like they'd just seen a ghost. Cordelia went nuclear, demanded I be banned from meetings. Nobody backed her up. Now she was desperate, filing for a restraining order, hiring a high-dollar lawyer, spreading rumors that I was intimidating volunteers. I ended up in court, facing an old law school friend as the presiding judge. The case fell apart in minutes. Not only was her motion denied, but she was ordered to pay my legal fees. Back home, the community's mood shifted. Marcus hosted a backyard gathering. Neighbors swapped war stories, and for the first time, people realized they weren't alone. I launched a 3-pronged attack: criminal investigation, civil suit for lost funds, and a recall campaign. My garage turned into a mini FBI office. Wall charts, evidence boxes, timelines. The more we dug, the dirtier it got. Shell companies, forged invoices, over $127,000 in embezzlement. Even her treasurer and vice president were in on it. Cordelia started lashing out, vandalizing my fence, sending fake complaints to the bar, trying to get me disbarred. And then, her brother-in-law Derek cracked. We met in a diner. He slid me a folder with original invoices, proof of fraud so obvious it practically screamed. He confessed the kickbacks were supposed to be small, but Cordelia's greed took over. Her allies scattered. Her husband filed for separation. Neighbors started gathering at the fence lines, waiting to see what would collapse next. The media descended. Channel 7 did a 5-part expose. The local paper ran front-page stories. Social media exploded. Investigators froze her accounts, suspended her real estate license. The evidence piled up: fake insurance claims, forged maintenance logs, tax evasion. Finally, the recall signatures were collected, way more than needed. Reform candidates stepped up. Neighbors planned a community barbecue to take back the HOA. Cordelia tried one last gambit: dissolve the HOA to escape prosecution. The judge threw out her motion with a warning so sharp you could feel it through the TV. Federal indictments dropped: 14 counts of fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. Cordelia tried to flee the country but got caught at the airport. Her Facebook apology went viral for all the wrong reasons. Her empire crumbled. The community rebuilt, issuing refunds, repainting vandalized homes, putting real transparency policies in place. We held the annual HOA meeting, standing room only. I was elected president, not because I wanted power, but because the neighbors trusted me to keep things honest. Marcus took over as treasurer, Mrs. Chun as community liaison, Earl on architectural review. We posted all contracts and budgets online, created real appeals for violations, and taught the whole community how to protect themselves. Cordelia got 3 years in federal prison, Her restitution checks a monthly reminder that crime doesn't pay. Maplewood Estates went from HOA horror story to a model for reform. Property values up, laughter returning to the playground, no bogus fines, and a scholarship set up in honor of residents who'd found the courage to fight back. Every once in a while, I still get calls from other communities asking for help, desperate to beat back their own Cordelias. It's a reminder, this fight is bigger than just one judge or one neighborhood. It's about ordinary people refusing to stay silent, standing up for the place they call home. So what's your HOA horror story? Drop it in the comments. Your experience might help someone else find the courage to stand up and take back their neighborhood. And if you want more stories of justice, of ordinary people pushing back against corruption, hit subscribe, smash that like. And remember, democracy works best when nobody's afraid to speak up. Justice is sweetest when it's shared with neighbors who finally feel free. Keep fighting the good fight. Your neighborhood is counting on you.